Hosted by BC Comix, with 3 convenient locations in Fenton, Battle Creek, and Lapeer. I am Jakob Maggard.
And I'm Jonah Maggard, and we are here at the Lansing Center in Lansing, Michigan, gearing up for our second round of Standard.
So we've got 2 great players about to go on stream. We're going to go ahead and head right into the action. We have Austin McKee on Blue-Red Dragons, and Frank Scarber on some sort of red-white Eldrazi deck. We shall see how that pans out, and we are going to go live to our feature match right now. We should be shuffling up, and we'll get them all started. All right, looks like they are still shuffling up here. We're going to get our round timer all started. Started now. All right, awesome. So, Standard's in a pretty weird spot. Jonah and I have been talking about this for a couple days now. There are over 50 different Standard decks that have either top-8'd or won events in the past month since Shadows over Innistrad was released.
Right.
And so we could see a number of crazy things happen today. It looks like Austin won the die roll. So they're going to be drawing their first opening hands of 7.
And it really creates a very interesting competitive format where you can play anything and succeed.
Yeah, you can. This is a brewer's standard. You know, there was a couple standards ago where you really had to play rock, paper, scissors. I had to play this deck or this deck or this deck to do well. And now you can do whatever you want. You can play some brew you came up with, just like I want to play this card. Looking like we're starting with I think it's a Game Trail tap?
Yeah.
Or, no, it's a Highland Lake, sorry.
Yeah, Highland Lake tap.
Highland Lake is a blue-red deck. Of course, it's not going to play green. So great at this. All right, that is a Shivan Reef pass. Looks like we have a Mountain on Frank's side. Both players kind of getting set up. What is the first card today? Hedron Crawler. Hedron Crawler is a 2-mana 0/1 artifact creature that taps for 1 colorless mana. And it's going to help Frank ramp out his bigger cards.
Get him a turn
try
ahead.
And get a turn ahead of Austin, even though Austin was on the play. Looks like we have Sin Prodder. Now, Frank's going to have to read this card because it hasn't really broke into Standard yet. Sin Prodder is a 3/2 menace, which means it has to be blocked by 2 or more creatures. And then on Austin's upkeep, if his opponent either puts it into his hand or puts it into his graveyard and takes damage equal to its mana cost.
So it really makes your opponent really makes them think about what value they want to give their opponent.
Looks like Frank dropped a Pia and Kira Nalar, which puts 2 Thopters into play.
Looks like Frank is at 19 because he tapped his Shivan Reef.
Yes, that would be why he had to tap it for red mana. So we're going to update our life totals here.
As it looks right now, it looks like Frank has the board presence.
Yeah, but Austin is able to really garner some advantage here with his counter spells, his dragons, his... so he's playing this card called Icefall Regent, which is able to tap a creature.
There's a Thunderbreak.
Thunderbreak. So
Thunderbreak.
Thunderbreak Regent is a dragon, 4/4 flyer for 4. That if you target a dragon of Austin's with a spell or ability, it deals 3 damage to that source control. So if Frank tries to kill this dragon, he's going to be taking lightning bolts, which are 3 damage to the face, and it's going to protect his other dragons, and they do stack if he gets multiples. Did you think we were going to see Blue-Red Dragons in our first match today, Jonah?
I did not. When I heard that this was the matchup, I was really excited because this deck is very interesting and very unique to the format.
It is. It's a little insane, actually. I'm trying to get our stream shared where we want it to be.
Looks like he's going to remove this Thunderbreak, taking 3.
So it's going to move him to 16, looks like.
Gives Frank room to attack in.
Yeah, so there was a declaration in stone. Exiled the dragon and put a clue into play. Clues can be tapped. Well, 2 mana tap, sacrifice, and lets him draw a card.
Both are at 16.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like
Austin updated.
Austin has
Update is life total.
Life total on that die. I know he wrote it down, but I don't think
Now,
he...
Austin gets a sweet attack here because Frank's only got 2 creatures, and he doesn't want to block with either of them, so it's 3 free damage for Austin. He just gets to get into the red zone, get in there, get it taken care of. I don't know what Austin is trying to represent here.
Yep, okay,
Yeah, it looks like we've got life totals situated. Now, this tournament's really interesting because it's 120 players, which means we're going to be doing 7 rounds of Swiss. This is the start of round 2. Once again, this is a standard format, so just the past couple sets of cards, about 2 years worth. Okay, so we're tapping a Hedron Crawler for colorless, and another colorless off the Battlefield Forge. Hangerback Walker is a creature that costs XX, which means you can pour as much mana as you want into it, as long as it's divisible by 2. And comes into play with that many counters, and when it dies, he gets that many Thopters.
And
so
it's been a really good card since, I mean, it started...
Since it was printed. It gives you so much value, and you can actually pour extra mana into it to pour more counters on it, you know, at the end of every turn. Now, Simprodder is kind of not helping Austin here because he's missing his land drops. Because Frank can put him into the graveyard, take 0 damage since lands cost 0, and kind of move forward and just, you know, take it. It's got Menace, bro. That's what Austin's saying right now. Oh, looks like we have a spell coming.
Oh. It looks like Austin's down to 10.
He can't activate it. Are we not calling a judge? Are we not calling a judge? Alright, so it looks like we have a weird game state. Take a note of this. Oh, Hangerback does have haste. No,
Yes.
Hangerback has haste because of the Thopter Engineer.
Yep.
What a great sequence of events for
That's
Frank.
a great play.
So Frank gets to add a counter to the Hangerback, sacrifice it to Piankier and Nalar to deal 2 damage to the Sinprodder, which is what Austin is trying to respond to.
Yep.
Which will give him 2 more Thopter tokens.
It's really great thinking on the part of Frank.
It's not looking good for Austin. He's behind. I think there's 10 power in play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Man's up a Needle Spires. Does he have a man land? Doesn't look like he does.
No.
But, he can just sacrifice a creature. I think
Right.
Austin's dead. I think Austin's worried about Kozilek's return.
Right.
I don't know if that is in Austin's deck list here. Let's figure this out. Doesn't look like there's any Kozilek's return.
But it's always, I mean, it's always in, you know, in the back of his mind.
He's got to play around it.
Yep. Looks like we have
a Draconic Roar revealing Icefall Regent. So what this means is that it will deal 3 damage to a permanent, to a creature, and then 3 damage to that creature's controller because he revealed a dragon. So it looks like Frank's going to go down to 10 as well.
very close game so far.
Now, it's interesting to see Frank's line of play here. He says move to combat, you know, Austin responds, and now Frank's going to move to attackers.
Swing the team.
Yeah, speed in for 6. Yep, going to 4. See what Frank's got. 40. Tapping our mana, trying to figure out how we want to do this to make sure we can do our other spells, because he's playing multiple colors.
Yeah. Looks like a...
Eldrazi Displacer.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most powerful cards in the standard. And it did get countered by Sillingar's Scorn.
There's Austin's 5th land.
And finally the Icefall Regent can come into play. He's been trying to play it for 3 or 4 turns now, but because of the...
and Austin will pick up his card saying there's no way I can block all that damage.
Can't block all that damage. So we're going to game 2.
Yeah.
Looks like Frank has this 1-0 so far. Up a game. Going to sideboarding. Let's see. Let's talk about these sideboards.
Yeah.
And see what we could bring in. So Austin has 4 Reality Smasher, 2 Haven of the Spirit Dragon, 3 Negates, 1 Chandra Flamecaller, 3 Rending Volleys, and 2 Fevered Visions. I'm not sure any of these cards are things he wants.
I think they're small creatures, but that's about it.
He has to make it to turn 6 to cast it.
Right.
Rending Volley targets nothing in his deck. Fever Visions, you don't want to give your opponent any more cards in this specific matchup. The Negates could counter Declaration in Stone.
Right.
Could counter...
that small removal that Frank does have.
can't really counter anything else in Frank's deck.
Right.
Frank's only got Declaration of Stone as his only non-creature permanent.
Yeah, but let's talk
Oh,
about...
nope. The negates can take out his Chandras. He's playing 4 of them.
Oh, wow. We didn't even see one that game.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but Austin doesn't know that those are in the deck.
Yeah, so I don't know if Austin's going to bring in the negates. It's interesting. And Austin's one of those guys who keeps up on the meta, so he might know.
He might know, yeah.
What's in this deck. We want to read off Frank's sideboard.
I mean, for his sideboard, he has 1 Thought-Knot Seer, 3 Tragic Arrogance, 2 Avacyn, 2 Warping Whale, 1 Liliana, 2 Hollowed Moonlight, 2 Spatial Contortions, and 2 Rending Volleys.
What are those cards do you think he's going to bring in?
I mean, I could see... I mean, and really... I think if I was Frank, I would leave my board as it is.
You think that you wouldn't sideboard any cards?
I don't think so. Maybe,
So,
I can't think of anything.
So I think he would bring in the extra Thought Knots here. Mostly because Austin's playing a control deck with counterspells and removal. If he can take those cards out of Austin's hands, Austin can't cast them. So and it exiles them, so it's not like he can buy them back.
Right.
With his Jaces. So I don't think he's going to bring anything else. He might bring in Linvala just to gain some life if he gets behind. Plus the Flying Angel's it's going to help get around his dragons.
That's
Linvala
true.
Blocks every dragon in Austin's deck.
That's true.
So, and he can blink it to gain more life if he gets behind. So those are the cards I personally bring in. So we shall see what we see. Looks like they're still shuffling up here.
Should be underway here in a minute.
Jonah, do you have any ideas about Standard, how it's shaping up? Do you think
I love it. It's right now, like you said, it's a Brewers format, and that's what I love to do. So, trying a lot of stuff out. I've been brewing a lot of different decks. So, and there's a lot of spicy stuff you can put in your boards to really counter everything in the format.
Yeah, this matchup's super interesting because it's pretty fair.
Right.
Austin got a little behind because the Sin Prodder was letting his opponent choose what card he got to draw off of it. So, Frank can be like, oh, well, I can take X damage to put X spell in your graveyard.
Right.
Or make sure you never draw a land off Sin Prodder.
Right.
So
that did put Austin a little behind that last matchup.
And if Austin curbs out and goes, tap land, Jace, Sin Prodder, then Jace kind of puts Frank in a worse spot.
Right.
Because if he puts a spell into the graveyard, once this Jace Vryn's Prodigy flips, he's able to cast them again. So,
and if he does put spells in it, I mean, it really gets that spell mastery off.
Yeah, spell mastery is so important when you're trying to cast fiery impulses and things like that. So, we'll see what we see. One of the interesting cards, it looks like Seth Mainfield was brewing a list like this, and that's where Austin saw it. But it looks like he's playing 3 Eldrazi Sky Spawner, and that's a 2 mana and 1 blue to cast a 2/1 flyer that puts a 1/1 Eldrazi sign. Looks like we started the game in a quite quick fashion. We've gone Island Mountain, I believe, for Austin.
There's a Hedron Crawler.
There's another Hedron Crawler. Now, this Needle Spires that Frank has, it actually can become a 2/1 double striking creature for 4 mana.
Right.
And there's a lot of lists like this that play some Gideons to buff that.
Austin's just going to say, get that out of here.
Yeah, he can't deal. Did he take 3? Yeah, it looks like he revealed a dragon.
He revealed the dragon,
so
yeah.
Let's, Frank is now at 17. Tap land, another Needle Spires pass. Now this game is looking in Austin's favor.
Yes.
He's able to slam his nice full art Thunderbreak. It's the same creature we saw before, but it's a game day promo, so.
Let's see if Frank has an answer. Got a Key and Polar there. Get those 2 tokens out there.
And that's what's great about Standard right now is a lot of these. There's that Sky Spawner I was just talking about. Now it's going to give him an extra mana. Now the interesting thing is I didn't get a chance to look at Austin's hand, but if Austin has a 2 mana spell, he can sack the Eldrazi for mana.
Right.
To cast that spell, so he's able to block and then also get his spell off. And that's where Sky Spawner's value is. He's a flyer. He gives you an extra ramp. He gives you an extra creature. 3 mana for 3 power is on par with what you want to be doing.
Right, gets that extra body out there.
Looks like Frank's going to block this Thunderbreak with a token because he is feeling the pressure.
Does not want to take that damage.
No, you never want to be taking 4 and setting yourself up for doing that every turn.
Oh, looks like Frank played a card tapped there.
Oh, Reality Smasher. You always play Reality Smasher
Right.
tapped because it's going to immediately attack.
It's going to immediately attack.
It is a 5-power haste trampler that will just get in there.
Austin says, I'm going to take that damage.
Yeah, he doesn't want to block it. It's got trample. You're not going to gain any advantage. So trample is a ability that lets a creature assign only the damage it needs to. Oh, looks like it's a Reality Smasher of Austin's own.
He's going to say, I see you, Reality Smasher.
And I raise you a Reality Smasher. So it looks like Frank is trying to decide whether he wants to block this Thunderbreak region, because that's 9 damage. That puts him at 8, which could be potentially lethal with this other flyer. So Sky Spawner didn't attack because the Thopter just chumps it and takes it out. It trades, and that's trading 1 power for 2 power. It's not in Austin's
So he's going to
favor.
block the dragon there
Go to
and
12?
go to 12.
Well, looks like this game is going a lot more in Austin's favor.
Yes. Austin says, don't worry about your life total, I'll change it for you.
I got you, bro. It's interesting to note that Austin did not hit his 5th land, had to sack his Eldrazi Scion for it.
Right.
Which was why he probably played the Sky Spawner.
Exactly. He says, no matter if I hit that land or not, I'm playing this card next turn.
Yep, and it puts Frank in an awkward position. Looks like Frank doesn't, it's not far enough in the game for him to deal with it. So, and Reality Smasher is hard to deal with anyways, because if you target it with a spell, you have to discard a card, or that spell is countered.
Right.
It's just
It's all about that value.
Yeah, it's a value brick house. So one of the few strategies.
Reality Smasher and value in the same sentence.
Yes, there's a lot of Reality Smasher value going on. So I don't know if we're going to see any more sideboarding after this round. Some people like to sideboard differently on the play or draw.
Oh, there's a Chandra.
Chandra Flamecaller. We'll see what mode we're choosing. Now Chandra's interesting. She can make tokens by adding a counter. Looks like she's going to be making some elementals. It makes some 3/1 elementals that get exiled at the end of turn. So we have 1, 2, 7, 10, 13 damage crashing in. Austin has to decide, if he can take this or try and...
Adding it up there.
He's adding up. He's like,
Say,
I got it. What you going to do, son? So Austin is going to be going down to 2 life. So let's see what we can... Oh, because Austin has the Draconic Roar, he's able to attack, cast a Draconic Roar, and kill Frank. So now we have a tie game, guys.
Going to game 3.
So Frank is going to be on the play this game. Going to reset our life totals. Now we've got plenty of time left in this round for them to play a real slugfest.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I want to see.
When they're matching each other card for card, it can be difficult. Austin's got 1 Dragon Lord's Prerogative, looks like. That is 6 mana, draw 4 cards, uncounterable if you control a dragon.
Or reveal a dragon.
Or reveal a dragon. Those additional cost dragon spells are known to get played in this deck. So it'll be interesting to see if Austin decides to change his sideboard because he's on the draw. Some cards are better on the play, some are on the draw. I imagine he would be taking out his Reality Smashers.
Doesn't look like he is.
He looked at his sideboard. I think he was checking to make sure that he already brought something in.
Right.
On the draw, you're going to want the extra negate.
Right.
You're going to want to lose a Reality Smasher probably.
And now that you've seen that Chandra.
And he's got to think about that Chandra, because if Austin builds up a board of 4 power creatures, Chandra can just come down and take them all out.
Right.
Which could let Frank get in the red zone and do exactly what he needs to do. Interestingly enough, we haven't seen a Thought Knot Seer in either of these games. And
between the 2 decks,
we have 4 copies on the 75 of Frank, none in Austin's deck.
Austin's, okay.
But if Frank can land a Thought Knot Seer relatively early,
it
can spell doom for Austin, because it takes a card out of his hand. It's hard for him to deal with because it dodges Draconic Roar.
Right.
It's a house. That's why these red Eldrazi decks fell out of favor a couple weeks ago. Once, because Standard rotated and Shadows over Innistrad was released, great set. Completely changed Standard. Like I said, over 50 different types of decks you can play right now, ranging from cheap to expensive, all competitive playable. Looks like this is our first chance to see Wandering Fumarole. Austin's going to be mulliganing this hand. He's got plenty of time, so he's going to make sure he's thoroughly shuffled, make sure he's got all his cards in order.
He's not rushed for anything.
Looks
so.
like Frank's keeping his hand, which it looks pretty good. Got some Westphal Abbeys in his hand. That's another thing about this deck. Has all the Eldrazi threats, has the normal Displacer, Pirin Kirin Nalar kind of thing going on where you can make a lot of tokens. Plays one of the... Is he playing Foundry of the Consoles? He's not. He's playing the Seagate Wreckage over it. Can make a lot of tokens, and then you've got Westphal Abbey, which you can just
sack those tokens to and create a literal monster.
Yeah, it turns into a demon. Nice 9/7 flying, indestructible haste demon that just will get in there. So I don't know if Austin has a way to deal with a flipped Westphal Abbey.
I don't think he does.
I mean, he can tap it down with Icefall Regent.
He could, and keep it tapped down that way.
Besides that, in his board, he doesn't even have anything. So we'll see. His main goal is going to be making it so that he can't ever activate the Westphal Abbey.
Right, and how the games are going, they are trading at least 1-for-1 when it comes to combat and things like that. So I don't think Austin's really concerned.
Yeah, and Austin, on the draw here, totally okay to take a mulligan. Hopefully a hand with 2 lands.
He's going to keep and scry that first card.
And he's going to push it to the bottom.
He's going to ship it.
See you later. All right, we have Shivan Reef Pass, draw. There's that Jace I was talking about.
Yeah.
Highland Lake Pass. Hedron Crawler? No, Hangerback Walker on 1.
On 1. Trying to get that early threat out there.
And there's Jace.
There's Jace.
So Jace is interesting. Austin's got a couple Madness cards in his list, and I hope that they don't ever come up awkward for him. Yeah, because Jace is a looter, so you tap it, you draw a card, then you discard a card.
Right.
If after you discard a card, if there are 5 or more cards in your graveyard, Jace flips into this Planeswalker with just case control of the game from there.
Right.
The problem being, if you discard a Madness card and you have 4 cards in your graveyard, it gets exiled, then Jace checks, then you cast the Madness card. So it can be a little awkward, put you a turn behind. Looks like we had a Thopter Engineer create a Thopter with haste and then attack in. Gonna activate our Jace here, draw a card. Discarding our extra Jace because we don't need it anymore. We're gonna pass the turn. So this is gonna let Austin see more cards, select what he wants in his hand for certain situations, and kind of be more reactive, which is what he needs to be in this space.
Right.
There's a potential, a lot of power on board that could come from the Thopter Engineer, and all of his artifacts are going to have haste.
He's going to swing in with that Thopter again.
So let's update our life totals. Looks like we have Austin at 19.
Going down to 18.
And Frank at 19. Cast another Hangerback Walker. Now, Hangerback Walker also has haste, so at the end of Austin's turn, I think we're going to see him activate them both to make them bigger.
Right.
We have some Draconic Roar, revealing a Thunderbreak Regent to the Thopter Engineer. So he's going to activate...
In response, going to pump that guy up.
He's not going to pump the other one because it already is able to activate its ability, so he's not going to lose any value off of it.
Right.
So Frank is going to go to 16. This game is getting pretty interesting. The more spells Austin casts, the faster that Jace flips.
Jace is going to flip, yep. So really, Frank has to find an answer to that. He's going to
activate our Jace, drawn a card. It's another Jace. He has drawn 2 Jaces off of his Jaces. So he's just going to be like, well, I don't need this anymore. Sin Prodder. Now this is where Austin got into a bad spot last time. So let's see if we can do it again.
But I mean, if he puts those cards in the graveyard, he's just getting closer to that Jace flip.
Yeah, he really is.
So really, he has to choose wisely. And I think that's what what Austin is.
This is the point.
pushing
If
for.
you have Jace and Sin Prouder, your opponent has even a harder time making a choice. And with
Right.
these magic cards that make your opponents make the choice, you want to make that choice never the right one for them.
Right.
You can put your opponent in a position like a crashing in for 1,
4,
2, 3, 4,
5.
5. Yeah, taking them to 13.
Austin's like, I will take that damage.
If we 4 mana, there's Thought-Knot Seer. We're revealing Chandra, Thunderbreak, Smasher. So we are behind.
What do you think he takes here?
I think he takes the Thunderbreak because it's going to turn off all of his dragon spells. But I wouldn't be surprised if he took a Chandra, which would prevent Austin from discarding his other Chandra
Right.
next turn. However,
I
now
can-
this card is exiled, so it's not going to go to the graveyard.
Right.
There we go. So it's
There
not
we
going to
go.
count towards the Jace. Like I said, taking the Thunderbreak, turning off all the dragon spells that require a dragon in play. And let's see what happens. Now this Jace is going to flip this turn.
Yeah. So that's an interesting from Frank.
Yeah, putting the card in there guarantees that it's going to flip.
But it also turns off, him getting closer to those Chandras.
Yeah. So it looks like Frank might take over this game. Austin's going to have to kind of get
Swing
in
in
there.
and try to keep the life totals at least even.
It looks like we're at 13 all. Hey, if you're just joining us, we're in Lansing, Michigan at the Lansing Center for this BC Comix Brawl 5K. Bringing a bunch of stores together from the Greater Michigan era. Let's talk about these players playing these games at a really good pace.
Right, they're taking it slow, make sure they're reading their cards, make sure they understand what their opponents have, and it's just really good
Now,
Magic playing.
So we talked about how this Jace could flip. Austin realized that he's able to block and then flip the Jace
Right,
to try and negate some damage and also get, still the value.
right.
So it looks like we're probably going to just snap block the Thought-Knot Seer to save himself 4 life. No responses. We're going to activate our Jace. Draw a card. Drew a land, discarding one of those extra
One of
Chandras
those
I was
extra-
saying.
Yep, one of those extra Chandras.
So Jace is going to flip, and we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more damage, bringing Austin to 7. I meant to say 8. I thought he had activated another Pain Land, and that is not what happened. Being Kieran Nalar, putting 2 more Thopters into play, making this pretty close to lethal.
Pretty close, yeah.
Frank's going to take some damage to do that, so he's going to go to 11. We shall see what we shall see. Silumgar score. Are we keeping it? Are we taking 2?
This is a tough decision for Frank, because he has to, really decide, do I want to play something next turn?
So it looks like he's going to be putting it into the graveyard and taking 2, so Frank's going to go to 9. Drawing our card for turn. Playing
There's
an
an-
island.
There's that 4th land.
Don't know if Austin can get out of this mess he's put himself in. If he could have cast this Chandra this turn on curve, he could have wiped the board and been in a real good spot.
Looking at his graveyard, see if he can buy back anything from Jace, and he's looking at that
Draconic Roar. He's got double Roar. What can we do here? We got 3 mana. Another Sin Prouder. That's going to give us 2 triggers at his upkeep. Gonna
+1 to give all those.
No, his +1 only targets 1 creature.
That's right.
Gives it -2, -0.
That's right.
So that's going to make that Thopter, even though it's got 2 counters on it, count as an O2.
Right.
This game's getting real interesting.
Really close game.
It looks like it might just be Frank's game. It's
Just trying to add up.
the problem is Frank can't crash in with his Pia and Kieran Nalar to try and get to exactly lethal because he can just block with it.
Right.
It's like we see a Thopter Engineer in Frank's hand. Crashing in. Doing it.
So it's a 4.
He's attacking with the
He
Pia
is
and Kieran.
attacking him with it. That's interesting.
It is interesting. We'll see what he does.
Still trying to decide if That's exactly
now what
he
he
wants
can
to
do is put a counter on his Hangerback Walker and sack it to the PA and Kieran to try and get there.
See if he sees it.
He's reading the card.
Making sure he knows exactly what it does.
That's one thing I really like about this community is they're sure of everything they do.
Right.
Gotta move the blocks. Definitely blocking the Thought Knots. Double blocking Thought Knots here. Want to make sure that we get that out of play so that Austin can draw a card.
Right. Make sure he gets his next draw.
Wonder if, we're splitting up our blocks.
Okay.
So we're blocking P and Kieran. Flashing and Avacyn, that's going to give all of Frank's stuff indestructible, which would mean that he just loses it. Austin packs it in.
Handshake, yeah.
Can't win.
Very close game.
Yeah, congrats to Frank on winning that match.
Yeah.
Looks like they're talking about their sideboard, so we're going to switch back to our face camera. We don't want you guys to get just tons of information. So, like I said, we're in Lansing for the BC Comix 5K. Shaping up pretty nice.
Yeah.
Got a lot of players here. A lot of people playing different decks. You know, you've got the normal decks that are on the tours, the high quality decks. And then you've got some brews with some really interesting interactions. I saw a blue-white flash deck playing Mizium Meddler.
Interesting.
Do you know what Mizium Meddler does? It is a 3-mana flash blue creature, like a 1/4,
right,
that redirects any spell or ability to itself.
Right.
And so you can just, they try and kill your guy. You're like, nope, killing my guy. So we're going to go to our between round slide. We're going to take a short break while we get you some more content. Going to go try and get some deck text, get you guys some lists. So we will be right back.